Good morning and welcome to Living Talks. This is the first Living Talks, a conversation to build a local community through connection and understanding. My name is Charlie Hartmann and I run the Living in Luzern organization as well as the LiLi Centre Community Centre. And with me today is Dr. Brandi Eijsermans.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me, Charlie. I am happy to be here today with you. I'm a clinically trained psychologist working here in Luzern and Central Switzerland. And not only that, I'm also a member here and a small business partner. So that means I'm part of the community. And so I'm a professional in the community, and as a small business partner, our missions align so much so that that I contribute to the community, whether it's talks, articles, or just being in the space and meeting and helping people through this space.
That's right, and the reason why we invited you today is because you wrote an article for us about seasonal serendipity, and you referred to the LiLi Centre as a third space. And I had never heard of that concept before, so
Absolutely.
I thought I probably wasn't the only one, and maybe that you could share with us a few thoughts on what a third space is and what its purpose and function can be.
Yeah, so you're not alone. Even though this is my area of research and expertise, this was a new concept to me early on in my research. It's not something widely used yet, but it's growing in its popularity and its use. And what we're talking about when we're talking about third spaces is the intersection of cultures. So intuitively, we've all been in third spaces, right? We just haven't had a word to call it. And so research kind of emerged in the 1960s, just trying to express what happens when cultures meet. And so third space is the intersection of cultures. So, you may be in Luzern, but you may be getting together with your Japanese-speaking friend, and you may be from, South America. And it's a way that we can start to express some of the dynamics that come from those interactions. And the space can be kind of more abstract, or it can be a physical space. And in the article, I was really talking and highlighting how the center is a prime example of a physical space that can create this international community, so to speak.
So in effect, a third space is a kind of common ground, a safe zone where you can go and just be.
Yeah, and it's a place where understanding can be built. So one of the things that we have to stay conscious and aware of is that third spaces, like any other space, kind of take on the patterns that we have established in ourselves, in society, and within our culture. And so one of the things that is pretty special here versus some other more broad third spaces, which we have. I mean, the world's very globalized. It's hard to not interact with other cultures. So you're interacting in third spaces all over the place, not just at the center. The thing that's quite interesting is the intention around the center, as you guys have formed it. It really is geared towards keeping a level of consciousness of everyone's voices having an equal place at the table, everyone having a space that they can come, that they can explore, that they can share their experiences, that they can share their challenges, and then they can come for support. And that's fairly unique, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are issues of, power and privilege that play into third spaces, just like they do in any other social space, right? And so one of the things that I think is really great about the third space that's being created here is it's all welcome. all equal space. And so that really aligns a lot with my mission, that all voices can be heard and all voices can be supported, because adjusting and transitioning to a culture outside of your own, man, that's tough. It can be challenging. And when you add on, power privilege and lack thereof, many people can suffer needlessly just because they don't feel like they have a voice.
I think you've touched on one of my main concerns. We find people who come here often feel very powerless. They have lost their whatever status they had in the previous country where they were. And so we are all about empowering people. And as you know, this organization is entirely volunteer run. So it's very simple to be able to welcome somebody regardless of their culture and just say, hey, come and take a place at this table, come and help us. And through helping, start rebuilding your sense of identity and empowerment.
Absolutely. And one of the things that really interests me as a psychologist, and one of the reasons why I wrote the article, is that third spaces are also opportune spaces for creating new opportunities. So what a great place for someone who is trying to build community and connection here in Luzern to come, because it has these built-in serendipitous experiences. There's not one morning here that's the same, and I've been coming here since the beginning, and almost 2 years now, so very exciting. Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you.
And but it's really great to see that through this process, every morning is different. There's a different group of people, there's a different blend, there's different conversations being had, but that brings energy, right? It brings energy towards new projects, new opportunities, knowledge bases. The amount of knowledge that people bring in here, the volunteers and the people coming from various parts of the world, it's just been a fascinating process to be a part of. And I think I'm clearly a fan, but I would really like to help other people understand why this is a really distinct third space. It's not just a cafe. It's just not a meeting place, but it's more. It really is a place to build community.
That's right. And what I think is super important is for people to feel comfortable in the local community, and for that they need to understand the local community. And our aim is to take away as many hurdles as possible, so that when they are confronted with a situation that they don't quite understand, they can find either through us or through one of our partners a better way of understanding and dealing with whatever issue that is.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that I think is really great, is that it's moving away from these kind of traditional paradigms of the expat bubble or the international bubble, and really understanding that the host culture has to be a part of a community for us to really gain that connection and understanding. And it serves all of us, right? If we know more about each other, if we can get over our stereotypes, misunderstanding, prejudices, so that we can really connect, so we can have those moments of understanding, that's really where the community starts to build.
I think that's very true, and we recently did a little survey on all our memberships and where all our members come from, and we were astounded to see that the number one nationality at the centre is actually Swiss. And that showed us that the community is already engaging with us.
They're receptive.
They are very receptive, and they're very keen to help. And it's a true win-win situation, because the people who are involved at the centre are very open to other cultures and are interested in finding out more, and are also very proud of their own culture and want to share that with us.
Yeah, and so those members are kind of like cultural liaisons, so to speak, right? They can kind of hold your hand as you're getting used to things and and help you approach some of those situations that can, be intimidating, right? It's not always so easy. This cultural adaptation and acculturation is a bigger process. And so, we could definitely talk about that in a whole other podcast. But what I think is really special about it is it really moves away from what the research also shows, which is that, if you're not conscious and aware of these dynamics, what we do is we just play out the same patterns that we do in nation building or in organizations, which is that, the same power constructs emerge, right? So it ends up being, more imperialistic, more Western dominant in the way that it's set up. And what I think is great in the way that it's formatted here is it's really meant to be egalitarian. There is no one dominant language here. You can hear all sorts of languages in any given room here on most days.
That's very true, and I think that's one thing that we really need to underscore is, yes, English is our common language at the centre, and the reason is that it's probably the number one spoken language, or the most found all over the world language in any case, and it doesn't mean that our members are all from an English-speaking country. And if you look at our little map of the world, I mean, we have over 45 nationalities here as members, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
Absolutely, and it's fun seeing those moments where people kind of align, and it's like, oh, you speak this language too. Oh, we've got to connect.
That's right,
I've got something to say.
Exactly.
And it's really great to see. It's also fun to see each person's language process as they're trying to understand German, Swiss German, and having a community that is understanding of that, right? Because practicing it in the broader community may or may not work for you, but having a space where you can get really comfortable with that learning process, that in and of itself helps to foster that connection in that community, because we kind of have to use the language for it to emerge, right?
That's right. Yeah, and that was, I think that was our first project that we launched, was actually the German Conversation Group. That was way before we even had the centre. And I just recognized the need that, you go to school, you'd learn German, and then you'd walk out in the street, people would hear your accent and immediately switch to English or French or whatever, because they speak
well
so
intended, right?
Absolutely, but it doesn't help so much with
not.
learning the language.
Certainly not, and I think most of us have experienced that, right? So having a space where people go, I understand, it's okay if you struggle, let's struggle together, and let's have some fun in the process.
And that is very much the democratic principle of this centre. If you have an idea and you are willing to run the project, whatever it is, then we will most likely be very happy to help you with that, provide you with the space, and support you along the way to launch whatever it is you want to launch.
And that's the great thing that I've seen over the last year, is that evolution, right? Is that it's this growing, changing, shifting, moving space, and it grows and changes as we have different members. And so what each person brings really starts to be reflected in the center, and it really is kind of the center of the people, so to speak, because if you come and you're part of the community itself kind of changes and evolves. And what's fun is having the more voices that we have, the more we can offer, that kind of robust community where, everyone can be heard, and everyone's kind of needs and life stages and, and interest levels, they can all be, encompassed in a space. It's not always kind of clean that way, right? We've noticed that through this year,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's mixed events going on, and but there is a wonderful energy that comes from that, because there's so much possibility when you're really, creating and collaborating in that way. And I think that's been kind of fun for newcomers who do come to the coffee morning to kind of see, well, I have had this passion project, and I didn't really dare get it off the ground, but maybe this is a space that I can do that. And we've seen quite a few members who've really just taken the ball and run with it.
I think that in a way, once you're stripped of whatever you used to be, and you're in a good mental space to go forward, then it is a fantastic opportunity to just grasp whatever dream, passion you had, and here's the perfect place to do it, really. There's nothing to lose, and the
so
response.
Much to gain.
Exactly.
Not just for yourself, but the whole community.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of our collaborators nowadays, such as yourself, in fact, are people who walked through these doors and wanted to start something, and we were able to help them, and then kind of found that actually we might be your first clients.
Exactly.
we have a need.
And I've been through that. You've seen me through that journey as well, kind of building up my own practice and finding my niche here. You know, my focus has always been on serving people who are living outside their country of origin and helping them to thrive. And so this has always been a good fit being here at the center. But I think, you know, for those people who are curious, for those people who have not come to the center for whatever reason, maybe you've just touched down, maybe you've been here a couple of years, I guess, I'm just really encouraging people to look at some of the opportunities by trying to make it more transparent through this talk, letting people know, what does the space look like? What does it feel like? Can I come in here? Is this a space for me? And I hope we got like a resounding yes.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. Building third spaces consciously and fostering communities with intention is something that's near and dear to my heart in creating the kind of spaces that help people to thrive. And I really appreciate all the work that you've done to not only get this project off the ground, but to also start to share with the podcast, more broadly to people, hey, here's what's going on at the center. If you don't know what it is like, why don't you come and peek through the window?
Exactly. Well, I think you've summed it up perfectly. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Charlie. It's been great.
I look forward to talking to you about some of the other subjects we touched on today.
I think we will have to.
Indeed. So, hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to having you listen to us in the near future. Thank you.
And come to the center.
Yes, definitely. Come by. Bye.